Dear students of class 9A and 9B, welcome back to my history class. Today's lesson mentioned in the board, the Cholas. Some points I have written in the board, please look at it. First point, Parantaka 1, second, Rajaraja 1, Rajendra Chola, the Chola administration and local self-government. First point, Parantaka 1. Who was Parantaka 1? Parantaka 1, it is said that the Parantaka 1 was a ruler, founded the Chola kingdom. But according to the historians, the real founder of the Chola kingdom is Raja 1, the son of Parantaka 1. Now what did Parantaka 1 do? Parantaka 1, as a ruler of the Chola dynasty, he renewed the rule which was started by the Cholas earlier. The ruler Parantaka 1 just continued the rule under the Cholas. But there is no certain informations about the previous ruler before Parantaka 1. That's why we start discussions. We can start discussion for only Parantaka 1 onwards, because we get many informations about, not many, few informations about the ruler Parantaka 1. Now what informations? Parantaka 1, invaded Ceylon. Parantaka 1 invaded Ceylon. He also, as a ruler, Parantaka 1 as a ruler, for the first time established the Cholas to be a powerful kingdom of ancient India. Parantaka 1 defeated the Pallavas. He also defeated the Pandavas, and then he invaded Ceylon. Parantaka 1 ruled for 907 to 953 CE. But unfortunately, this ruler, Parantaka 1, was defeated by the Rashtrakutas during the last half of his rule. So only this much information we get about Parantaka 1. Now, Raja 1. Raja 1 was the son of Parantaka 1. Raja 1 is considered as the real founder ruler of the Chola dynasty. Why? Because he extended vast empire. Raja 1 became the king in the year 985 CE, but he annexed so many territories, and then he made a vast empire under the Chola rule. But ultimately, in a course of annexation, Raja 1 had to defeat many kingdoms like Pallavas, like Cheras, Pandavas and Chalukyas. These kingdoms were defeated by Raja 1. The Cheras, the Pandavas and the Chalukyas, they all were defeated by Raja 1. By defeating them, Raja 1 extended his empire and made a vast empire during his rule. Raja 1's greatness brought glory not only to the Chola kingdom but also to the Chola country, but also to the Tamil country, not Chola, but also to the Tamil country. He is regarded, Raja 1 is regarded as I mentioned earlier, founder ruler of Chola dynasty. Only because of that reason, he extended a vast empire occupied so many places, and defeated so many powerful, powerful dynasties of India, powerful kingdoms of India, like the Cheras, the Pandas, and the Chalukyas. Rajaraja I, he developed a very powerful navy because he felt that trade through sea route was very important to them. Rajaraja I felt that financial stability should be strengthened, should be powerful, otherwise he would be unable to extend his empire, he would be unable to construct, to introduce good architectural system, good, administrative system, and that's why Rajaraja I introduced good art, sculpture, architecture, and also was fond of learning. We get this information from various inscriptions because of the temple Brihadeswara, which was constructed by Rajaraja I. And the wall of the Brihadeswara temple is inscribed with the activities, political activities of Rajaraja I. And according to these inscriptions of the wall of Brihadeswara temple, we come to know that Rajaraja I, crossed the ocean by ships and burnt up the Lanka kingdom. And during the reign of Mahendra V, who was the ruler of Ceylon, during the period of Mahendra V, the ruler of Ceylon, Rajaraja I burnt up the kingdom Ceylon, burnt up the Lanka kingdom, and he crossed the ocean by ships. Why and how? Because he developed a strong navy. Why? Because of the reason he wanted to be a very successful ruler, a very powerful ruler. So only this much information we have about Rajaraja I. The next one, Rajendra Chola. Who was Rajendra Chola? Rajendra Chola is the son of Rajaraja I. Okay, Rajaraja I, Rajendra Chola succeeded his father Rajaraja I in the year 1014 CE. Rajaraja I was a great conqueror and good administrator, and Rajendra Chola under his rule, he extended his empire, his kingdom to Bengal, to our state Bengal, where he defeated the Pala king Mahipala. He defeated Pala king Mahipala and also defeated the Pallavas. Then he assumed the title Gangai Kunda. Gangai Kunda, why? Because conqueror of Ganga. The kingdom of Bengal, which was occupied, the territories of Bengal which were occupied by Rajendra Chola, these all territories were situated beside the river Ganga. That means the soldiers of Rajendra Chola reached Bengal, reached beside the river Ganga, and on reaching Gangetic plain, Rajendra Chola's army, Rajendra Chola conducted many meetings with his army and motivated them to give them victory against the Bengal king Mahipala. Mahipala was not weak ruler. He was also courageous, brave. He also faced Rajendra Chola. But ultimately, the soldiers of Rajendra Chola decided to attack the soldiers of Mahipala during midnight, because Rajendra Chola felt that defeating Mahipala with his large army would be a very hard work for him. But he did not want to be defeated. That's why Rajendra Chola Rajendra Chola, spent many sleepless nights and was chalking out plans so as to defeat the large army of Mahipala. Mahipala's army, when they were sleeping inside their tents, Rajendra Chola's army, as per his instruction, crossed Bhagirathi River, reached there during midnight, and started killing one by one the soldiers of Mahipala. So many soldiers died by the sudden attack by Rajendra Chola's army. Rajendra Chola led the battle, and then Mahipala, when the news reached Mahipala, Mahipala became very much unhappy. But once again he tried to defeat the soldiers of Rajendra Chola, but was unable to defeat, and hence Mahipala had to consider that defeat, and Rajendra Chola occupied the vast territories over the Gangetic plain and obtained the title Ganga Kunda, means places he occupied beside the river Ganga Kunda, and named his new capital Ganga Kunda Cholapuram in order to commemorate the victory over Bengal. Rajendra Chola named his new capital Ganga Kunda Cholapuram. Besides Bengal, Rajendra Chola, occupied Lakshadweep Islands, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and became the great Chola ruler. Ultimately, Rajendra Chola established a strong empire, introduced a good system of administration, but unfortunately Rajendra Chola's successor Rajadhiraja Chola was defeated by the Chalukyas in 1052 CE. And with this defeat, the kingdom under the Cholas marked the end of their rule. So the Chola kingdom began to be disintegrated. By the end of the 15th century, the Chola Empire was totally disintegrated by the Pandyas. Now, the Chola administration, my dear students. The Chola kings introduced a good system of administration. The Chola had a very efficient two-tier system of administration where the king was the head of the administration, and at the center the king was the absolute authority. The emperor means the king was assisted by a council of ministers, and introduced a good administrative system. Royal princes actively engaged in military duties and civil duties. They actively engaged, and the empire was divided into various parts, and village administration also was very powerful. The villages called Nandus, sometimes villages were grouped together to form another group, and in consultation with the senior members of the villages, they looked after the problems of the villagers and provided them facilities, so that they must have faith, they must extend their cooperation towards the Chola rules or Chola kingdoms or Chola rulers. It is to be noted that the Chola kings realized the importance of having an efficient importance of having an efficient system of navy, the Chola rulers. As I mentioned earlier, because during the period of during the period of Rajendra Chola, the system was followed. Rajendra Chola, Rajendra Chola developed a very powerful navy, and that system was followed by Raja Dhiraja Chola also, but Raja Dhiraja Chola failed to achieve success because his administrative skill was not good. His foreign policy, whatever he adopted, did not give him much success, and as a result of it, the Cholas in different times, they built navy for their defense, and finally the naval force under the Cholas gave them strong position in sea route, and they conquered various islands only because of the sea route. By using the sea route, the Cholas extended their empires, and that's why it is said that the Chola control over Bay of Bengal was so complete that it was referred to as the Chola Lake. Which one? The Bay of Bengal was referred to as the Chola Lake. The Cholas maintained a huge army comprising infantry, cavalry, and elephants. The Chola kings maintained a large network of communication, not only through lands but also through sea. But during that time, the Chola also, during that period, the Chola also had a good local self-government they introduced. What is this? The Cholas' most remarkable achievements were their, administrative system, local self-government they introduced. The villages were run with the help of various assemblies, just like Yuar and Sabha. Yuar was the assembly of villagers who had some land, and Sabha was the assembly of villagers of Brahmadeva, means the villagers who did not pay any tax, any revenue. They were known as Brahmadeva villages. So the Sabha was known as Brahmadeva villages. Many, there are separate public works department to look after the works of constructing roads, constructing barrages, canals, providing, digging of canals in order to provide sufficient water, adequate water to the agricultural lands, which sometimes faced, drought. And that's why, in order to avoid droughts like this type of, natural disaster, there was a system of providing adequate water into the agricultural lands by digging a number of canals, and then they imposed taxes on the peasants and farmers. Taxes were imposed on water, taxes were imposed on mines, taxes were imposed on customs and trade. And the taxes, whatever they collected from the people, they spent it. They spent it on various welfare measures, on various welfare works, and sponsored by the government. And by this way, the Chola administration, the self-government under the Cholas had become so important, the people accepted it to be a part of their kingdom, and that's why they extended their keen cooperation towards the Chola rulers for providing them enormous facilities and for providing them a life full of prosperity and happiness. Up to this, my dear students, thank you.